How many of you get home after an exhausting day of school or work and immediately open social media? Please raise your hands. I do. As soon as I get home, I collapse onto the couch and scroll through some form of social media. Most of us see this as a relaxing activity, but in reality, it's just brainless browsing. Now let's address what social media really is. Social media is an algorithm designed to be a vacuum of your time. Have you noticed when scrolling through any social media platforms that all of the topics feel incredibly familiar? This is because any minute signals of you interacting with the video will signify that you want to view more of this content, resulting in a For You page tailored to your interests. Now, why did I come here to talk about this? When I constantly use social media, I would do the exact same thing because it is so entertaining. But I realized after all that time spent scrolling, I felt so dissatisfied with myself for drowning my time in this endless sea of shallow content. How many of you have felt the same? You don't have to raise your hand, but as I'm talking, I want you to reflect upon the last time you had this feeling and what activity you could have been partaking in instead. After minimizing my time on my social media platforms, I felt like I was lacking the sense of dopamine I was getting from these 30-second videos. So I began thinking, how could I create a balance of using social media for entertainment, but also gain something from it? Unfortunately, lack of entertainment wasn't my only issue. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, screen time of teenagers has more than doubled, and a part of this can be attributed to social media usage. As a teenager who lived through the COVID-19 pandemic, I can confirm this. I remember I was on the phone with my friend one night, and she was telling me about how high her screen time usage had been. She asked me to check mine, and I confidently opened my settings app knowing I had about 4 hours. Lo and behold, it was about 9, and if I'm being honest, it might have been a little bit higher than that. And I realized that I wasn't the only teenager with such a high screen time. So I began doing some more research. I found a study by the Journal of American Medical Association that showed an increased amount of screen time hours can lead to internalizing problems in teenagers. And this could result in a few negative consequences. And this could be potentially harmful. So initially, social media wasn't meant for this. It was a tool for communication, but also a tool for a carrier of information. And this has been implemented in society in some way. When the ongoing war began in Ukraine, my family was affected because my mother is Ukrainian. Millions were devastated by the news, and this took such an incredible toll on thousands of people around the world. Immediately, social media created posts and shared information, and people were able to spread awareness. I wanted to take part in this. The night this all began, I began looking at my social media accounts, desperately searching for any credible sources that I could find to post on my stories. I wanted to know what was happening, and I wanted others to know too. I knew that if I posted something on my story, someone else would repost it, and it would eventually reach thousands of people within my community so that they too could understand the devastating effects of this war. I watched my mother do the same. She posted video after video, sharing information, promoting fundraiser locations, and promoting places that you yourself could protest. Just with the power of her screen, she was able to influence her country and help her family. Social media allowed for thousands of people to come together to allocate resources to the people of Ukraine and provide refuge. Still, I began to notice a few weeks passed that social media attention drastically decreased, and it was as if this was a trend that had suddenly lost its popularity. So the only people that continued to post were the ones directly impacted by this war. The initial catalyst for attention had begun to fizzle out, and people lost the sense of importance to post about this incredibly prevalent topic. Now let's rewind to 2011. In Iran, there were estimated 20 to 30,000 people participating in protests. Police forces were using tear gas and beating protesters to prevent an uprising. They also prevented journalists from reporting on this issue, so nobody had any way of truly knowing the horrors that were occurring within this country. Now fast forward to modern day Iran. There have been protests almost every day for the past few months all over the world. Social media exploded with posts, sharing information and letting the world hear the voices of Iranian citizens. Social media use allowed for thousands of people to come together and share this information. Social media is a powerful tool that should be wielded in a way that will positively influence others rather than causing harm to your well-being. So you may ask, as a student or as an adult, what is something that I could do? Recently, in Virginia, there have been walkouts all across the state with hundreds of students participating. In fact, there was a walkout and so many students were able to do so at the same time in sympathy for the recent deaths of students due to gun violence. What's incredible about this is that all of them knew at the exact same time that they should walk out of their school to protest for something that they all believed in. When you come across a crisis that's happening around the world, rather than skipping past it and not sharing the information, take it to be your responsibility to share with your family and your friends so that they too can spread this awareness. In doing so, more people will have access to this information that can be used to fundraise or protest for a cause. Now, I want you to remember that social media is all about creating that balance of entertainment and spreading that information, so don't solely focus on one or the other. This gives your usage of social media a purpose and will hopefully remind you that you can influence someone with any platform. Thank you.